Welcome to Everyone Hates Us, a podcast dedicated to the art of winning and the beautiful sport of baseball. I'm your host, Euno Lee, joined by my co-host, Daniel Grievitz, and we've got a great show for you today. But before we do anything, Dan, what's going on in that background of yours?
Well, I finally got to Chicago. I'm going to stay in one spot for the rest of the year, finally. So I finally had an opportunity to set up what I've been hoping to set up all along, which is a sort of little shrine to baseball here in the background. I've got all my baseball books. I got all my baseball movies. I got bobbleheads. I got my Ricky Henderson jersey. I got the most important thing, really, which is the 2020 championship banner. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about baseball as much as we can.
And just so we're clear, the 2020 baseball, the World Series champion, it was like a huge moment of well, we were talking before then about baseball, but I think that was like one of the moments where I knew that you were one of my closest friends as far as like being Dodger fans together. Because when that strike, it was a strikeout, right? Julio,
yeah.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah.
had the strikeout at the end there. I immediately burst into tears. I remember just crying, ugly crying. And then the first person I called was you. You were the first person I thought to call. I was like, after all the years of us just, we did it, man. It's the world is ending. Everything's going horrible. People can't even go outside. I don't know if we're going to even have a parade. Is that safe? Is that even sane? And then I was like, who gives a crap about all that? Let me call my homie who's suffered just as much as I have through all of this. And what was that night like for you?
Man, it's unforgettable. I looked it up real quick. October 27th, 2020. After years and years of just angst over the Dodgers, a lot that we shared together, because we sort of became friends, 2012, I think, 2011?
Yeah.
And the new look Dodgers, the big money Dodgers started, 2013? So we were there for the whole arc, the pain and the ups and the downs. Because, of course, it was an exciting time to be free of the McCourt years, as fun as it was, at certain times, but it was exciting to suddenly turn into a serious team and a serious contender that sort of took advantage of the resources that a team based in Los Angeles and with the sort of support that it has can be. And then, of course, years and years of playoff disappointments. That combined with, of course, as you alluded to, this was October 2020, which was after about 7 months of pandemic stress. It was such a cathartic moment. There are pictures of me just crying my eyes out over the Dodgers winning the championship, and then you called, and it was special to share that moment with you, brother. It was a beautiful moment, and it's really encapsulated what baseball can be for me. It's the downs of some of those playoff years, especially just year after year after year, because the Dodgers were in the playoffs every single year, and then the accumulation of that stress all building to this one moment was, how can you not be romantic about baseball?
Yeah, and here's the thing, if you're a Dodger fan, you don't care that it happened in a shortened year, because if you're a real fan, you've been through that period. And so I know there's a lot of kids out there who are maybe 10, 11, 12 years old who were probably not old enough to really understand why 2020 was such a big deal. And I think it's those kids who see on social media, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse trophy. Hey, that's funny and all, but no, you don't understand. We went through some absolute BS to get there. So yeah, all those if you're 10, 11, 12 years old and you don't understand why in 2020, this was such a big deal, and it's precisely because 2017 happened, 2018 happened, 2019. Oh God, was that one I'd like to have back? Like, we went to the elimination game. I was actually at both of the elimination games for 2019 and 2018, and I was like, this sucks. This feeling sucks. Like, you just kind of go into the parking lot kind of numb, and I mean, the traffic's no less crippling. It sucks. And I remember hearing like Sweet Caroline in 2018 blasting through someone's car as I'm like stuck in the parking lot for like 2 hours. And I just remember feeling like, it's not even like angry, because you're not angry about stuff like that. You're just, at that point, you're just kind of like, well, I guess next year, right? And
yeah.
And then next year you get knocked out in the NLDS. It's like even worse, you know? Like, you're just like, well, I guess next year, right? Like, and I would keep telling, back then we worked with Sabrina over at Baller, who was like a huge Dodger fan. I'm not gonna dox her because she works for the team now. But yeah, she's, by the way, awesome diehard Dodger fan, and she'd be so bummed out, and I'd tell her like, hey man, like, you don't understand. This team is built to do this like every year. Like, we're gonna go in the playoffs probably every year until ownership decides they don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
And that's insane to think about, you know. And I told her, like,
especially in baseball.
In baseball, like, that's the thing. Like, and we'll get to this. We'll definitely get to this. But that's the thing, is like, ownership is put together an incredible team, not just the players on the field, but staff, front office, like everybody,
top to bottom, like scouts, farm, all that. And we just get to enjoy it as fans. Like, you know how good it feels to go to the ballpark and think like, hey, yeah, we're probably going to win today. You know, like, yeah.
Do you have any idea how rare that is? Like, imagine being a Reds fan. Like, you're in Cincinnati. Not only does the weather suck and there's nothing to eat, like, if you go to the ballpark, your team's probably going to lose. You know, there's a good chance they might lose. And you're like,
it was very interesting just having arrived here in Chicago to be able to catch a 2024 White Sox game and really experience what that fan culture is like. And of course, it's an extreme example this year, but yeah, it's very different. It is a very different feeling in the stadium.
And the cost to get in, like, your money's as green as it is in Chicago as it is in LA. I mean, it's more of it, but, like, you know, you're still paying money and time to be there.
Yeah, of course.
And to think like, hey, there's a good chance we're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
It's a horrible feeling to go. It's like, all right, I guess we just go get wasted. I don't know. Like,
yeah, well.
On that backdrop, you know, given that, it's a perfect segue to get into what we're talking about today, which is we're hours away from the Dodgers facing off against the Padres in what has been probably the most hyped NLDS Game 3 of all time. Like, this is the most hype I've seen for an NLDS Game 3.
Yeah, very possibly.
Like, not even an elimination game. Like, these two teams want to kill each other. Like, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So,
which is like, despite knowing how the last few years between the Dodgers and the Padres have gone, it is crazy, given that there's an equally crazy Mets and Phillies series going on, which is an absolute afterthought right now. Yeah. Like, it doesn't even come close in terms of the national conversation. But those are like two crazy rivals too. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Like, the game's going on right now.
Yep.
And we're recording a podcast. You know, like, any other year, I'm tuning in the Mets Phillies. Like, those two fans probably want to kill each other too. You know, like, and it's
well, we'll talk about that later too. But I have dug deep into the individual, like, the team communities to see to take the temperature. And you're right. The Dodgers Padres is unlike any other right now, despite 3 of the 4 series being between division rivals and, like, between 2 very close cities. It doesn't come close right now.
This is Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred's wildest dream come true.
Absolutely.
You know how many big market teams we have in here? And San Diego's not a small market team either. Like, they're not a small market team. They're like a mid-sized market. And, you know,
no, San Diego's big.
A house in San Diego is not cheap. All right,
And
this
it
is
is
a
not.
pretty high cost of living area. So you got some well-heeled fans down there, and we'll get to that too. We'll get to that too. But they've got some. This is amazing. You've got 2 New York teams: L.A., Philadelphia, San Diego, Detroit, which is not a small metro either, and
Yeah.
Cleveland, also not a small metro. So like we're talking about some teams here, and I know like technically the Guardians are a small market team, and payroll wise they're definitely a small market team, and Detroit same thing, right? But like we got some heavy hitters in here payroll wise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 4 of the biggest payrolls in baseball, duking it on the World Series or duking it on the playoffs. So this is unprecedented territory we're in here. And for a non-elimination game between 2, they're not even division. Our rival is the Giants. Like they're just like the upstart. They're hauling ass. I'm gonna give them all the props.
Yeah.
They're hauling absolute ass.
Of course.
And they went all in, and they're spending all this money. They're acting like they're the only game in town because in San Diego they are the only game in town. Like
Absolutely,
the Clippers left, the Chargers left. Like that's all you got. It's that in MLS, dude. Like
Yeah. No, yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to that as well. But yeah, like that. But yeah, it's intense. It is an intense atmosphere, and I mean, it is why you love sports. Like why we tune in, and it is just concentrated in this one game. It'll be wild.
And in the hall of Dodger rivalries, I think the Yankees are up there. Mm-hmm. If you go really back to the Brooklyn days,
And even to the Dodger days, we still faced them in the World Series several times.
Yeah, and we effing hate them. And I mean, it was nice because everybody else in baseball hated them before we became the most hated team. So and then I would say San Francisco is the eternal pyre. It's just like it just burns forever.
Absolutely. It is. I mean, it came from New York to the West Coast. It's essential to the history of the game. It is followed started in Brooklyn and just like right across the river in the North Manhattan, and they moved all the way across the country and like at the same time, iconic players on each side, iconic moments for each side, and yeah, I mean that's. It's one of the 2 main rivalries of the sport. It's Dodgers Giants and Yankees Red Sox. And
probably the most treasured human being in our franchise's history, famously a Giants fan, Vin Scully.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like one of those things like, no, there's too much history here. And the Padres, and we're going to segue into this. We keep saying we're going to get to this. We're getting to it now. The Padres are like microwave rivalry. It's like, but it's hot. I mean, you ever put a bagel in the microwave for 3 minutes? Like, that thing is weapons grade, right? Like, don't pull that thing out with your bare hands. It's hot, but it's a microwave rivalry, and it's because the Padres have historically been, first of all, they're pretty new, relatively speaking, especially in the NL West. I guess like the D-backs or Rockies, but also, outside of like Tony Gwynn. Nobody knew who these guys were. Like they were just like, oh yeah, like when I knew the Padres.
Yeah,
were
I'm
kind
gonna
of like,
tune in and see if hopefully Trevor Hoffman pitches.
Yeah, Trevor Hoffman. I remember like hearing a story from was it Antonetti telling his I don't even know it was Antonetti. There was a guy telling a story about Greg Maddux in the training room. Mm-hmm. And it was when they were part of the Padres, and I was like, the Padres had Greg Maddux? Like,
yeah, they did.
Wow, he must have really liked it down there. Like, I don't know what it's like. I'm like, oh yeah, they had them. I guess it was just like you never really thought about them, and they were basement dwelling. They were a basement dwelling franchise.
There was always like, oh nice, we're playing the Padres. It'll be a chill series for a few games.
Like aside from like Jake Peavy games, I was kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, they had their stars, of course.
Yeah,
they had their fair share. Jake Peavy when he was great, was nails. Like you could not touch him.
Man was a baller.
Yeah,
so I'll give them the props, but it was just kind of like, and then all of a sudden, and this is where I kind of do a little bit of tribute is AJ Preller, Peter Sedler, as an owner, was like, you know what, screw
RIP?
this. We're pushing RIP. Peter Sedler, the Padres owner, who passed away of non-Hodgkin. Well, I don't know if it was non-Hodgkin lymphoma. He was a survivor of non-Hodgkin lymphoma twice.
Not sure.
A billionaire hedge fund owner, or not hedge fund, a private equity fund owner, with a firm based out in Marina Del Rey, which is pretty close to my place. Pushed all his chips in, and he was just like, you know what, screw it. And he single-handedly revived baseball in San Diego, a city that had endured. I don't know if they noticed the Clippers leaving, but I know they definitely felt the Chargers leaving. And I think
Absolutely.
Sedler knew it was pretty much inevitable that Spanos would move the team. And that kind of left a vacuum in San Diego sports. And I don't know what you guys know about San Diego as a city. Like, they cared about the Chargers, dude. Like that whole city kind of shut down on Sundays when there were Charger games. Like the tailgates and all that stuff, like at Qualcomm, like that's a real thing. They were a huge part of that community. And
Absolutely.
you remember seeing like Phillip Rivers, the San Diego Chargers quarterback, who, was an amazing player, very good player for a long time, get super emotional hearing that the team was leaving San Diego. And he
It
knew.
meant a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it meant a lot. It's a big deal for him and his 15 kids, right? Like, who are they going to root for?
Took me a sec.
Yeah, no, but I don't know. Child rearing challenge: Cromartie or Phillip Rivers? Like, who's?
I was gonna say, yeah, there's more than
I bet
San Diego Chargers heritage.
Rivers remembers all his kids' names though. But that's what I'm saying. Is like it was a big deal to that team or to that city to lose that team, and so all this to say, huge shout out the Sedler family, Peter Sedler. They're wearing the kind of the PS patches this year on their jerseys.
The little hearts.
Yeah, the little hearts, and just a reminder that that team, kind of doesn't have an owner right now. It's owned by the Sedler estate, and they're motivated by a lot. Yeah, so it's been an emotional postseason for them for sure, I think. And let's get into that. Game 2, NLDS at Dodger Stadium. Dodgers lose 10-2. We're going to start with that.
Yes.
It was a lot closer than the score was, in my opinion.
Because it was close most of the game.
It was close most of the game. I think we put a rookie out there, and unfortunately he got banged up a little bit. But for the most part, pretty tense game, just competitive wise, and then pretty tense game emotion wise.
Yes,
All
certainly.
right. So I'm assuming that you want to talk about this a little bit. So what's your kind of take on what happened there?
All right, so let's sort of recap the important moments here. It was 3-1, and then, well, no, actually, I guess the tensions really started in the beginning of the game with Jurickson Profar, and he made a really good play and robbed Mookie Betts of a home run, and immediately started taunting the crowd, which will get the crowd going. And tensions sort of escalated as the game went on. We had some near hit batsmen. We had, and we eventually we got to the point where objects started being thrown on the field, which you never want to see. Like that's not what you want. But that's sort of when things boiled over, and eventually we had more people throwing at each other. Manny Machado throwing a ball at the Dodgers dugout. Strong words being exchanged. It was intense. And it's led to the sort of intense atmosphere going into Game 3 that we were talking about. But I think that it was, the Profar and Machado and Tatis, probably more than any others, really just willingly added fuel to the fire and really just escalated this thing. And it is nice to have a villain to to root against. Like I think a team with those three guys as its central players is so deeply unlikable as a Dodgers fan, and it is so good to root against them. It's a feeling like I haven't had since the 2017 Astros were still together. Like that, like that level of antagonism. Like they are acting like a team that has, won championships and actually had significant success in the playoffs for many years. And they are, they're great. They're great baseball players. Like Tatis is an amazing baseball player, and Machado is an amazing baseball player. But they are big contributors to the atmosphere that led to what transpired in Game 2. Which again, you don't want fans throwing stuff on the field. It's like these players are humans too. Like you don't want anyone getting hurt. But that was. Like there was significant contribution from both sides, I would say, and significant contribution from those players specifically.
Okay, I like this. I like that you're taking the side of, Machado, Tatis, Profar being like these unlikable, which like fair play. If you're a Dodger fan, you definitely don't like these guys, especially Machado. Who?
Oh, yeah, Machado we
have
have history with. Yeah.
We gave up players to get Machado in a trade, and the thing that he's most remembered for is like a very Bush like run through first base. You know what I mean? And just like acting like a hot dog the whole time. Like that's kind of what we really remember about Machado, is that he kind of played the same as he was all year for the O's. Came here and then just like, just did Bush stuff. Like I was just like, what? You're making us look bad. Like teams already hate us because we got you, and now they really hate us because you're Bush. And like it sucks. So that was my thinking.
I was telling my mom the other day, I think Machado is probably the least likable Dodger of the last 10 years. It's probably either him or Urias, but that's based off off-field stuff. Like in terms of on-field events and like in-game stuff, Machado I think is unrivaled for that position in the last 10 years at least.
Yeah, the only player I can think of is like, and it's like kind of things that stick out, like A-Rod slapping the glove on the way to first, like stuff like that, where you're just like, it's exasperating for baseball fans and the home team fans alike, where you're just like, yeah, what are you doing? And then he goes to the Padres, and he does really just like, gonna win on an election and start kissing babies type stuff, like holding a parade before the season starts, and like going up there and saying they're gonna win it all and then missing the playoffs, and it's just like stuff like that where it's hard to like the guy. But I saw something really interesting on Reddit yesterday, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
saw something really interesting on the Dodgers subreddit. It's entitled "Food for Thought." Read the Padres. And I'm basically just going to co-opt this entire thesis. User Dodger Fanatic, if you could find me, and I'll give you your credit here. But this was a really interesting post about why Dodger fans shouldn't care that much if the Padres win it all this year. And it was really interesting. And I was like, first of all, it's very bold to post this in the Dodger subreddit, which right now, in the past, like, I would say, 36 hours? 48 hours, 44 hours, has been having an absolute meltdown. Really interesting timing to put this in here, but they brought up some really good points. So I was like, I'm the kind of person who reads this stuff and is like, all right, what crazy crap are you going to say? And then I realized, like, that's a good point. So they brought up the Peter Sutler thing about how he passed away and that they don't have an owner. But they also brought up a very interesting point that the Padres are all in. Like this person wrote it in caps, like all in. They are all in. And Dan, I don't know if you've thought about this, but if you look at the Padres like contract layout for the foreseeable future, holy crap, that thing's depressing. Like, if they don't win in the next 2 years, like in this season or the next, it's not even the next 2 years. If it doesn't happen this season and it doesn't happen next season, they are in for a world of hurt. We are talking about $1 billion worth of contracts. That's a whole Yoshi and a Shohei. But $1 billion for that small South Orange County city, okay, like that's a lot of money for those people.
Yeah.
$1 billion tied up in 33-year-old Machado, 33-year-old Bogarts, okay, like 39-year-old Yu Darvish. All right, like we were talking about some rough looking contracts, okay, like it's looking bad. So this is a really interesting post that they made. Is like, if they don't win in the next 2 years, what's going to happen to the team? Because they don't have a TV deal. They don't have the money that we have. And I was like, that's actually a really good question. What is going to happen to this team? Like, it's kind of scary. Like they are playing for their lives. Like, they are actually playing for their lives. Like, it's not like Seattle Mariners, will they exist or not, and the ballot initiative is going to decide whether or not they exist. Like, it's not that, but it's like, it's pretty close. Like, what's going to happen with this team, dude? Because, like, are San Diegans going to pay for this team's media rights deal? Like, I can't think of, and here's one thing that I'll give Dodger fans credit for. I can't think of another fan base that is going to put up with what Spectrum and Time Warner did to LA. I can't. You couldn't even get it on DirecTV. You couldn't watch the Dodgers on DirecTV. And
it was rough.
I mean, thankfully, we live in an age where, we call it over the top, right? You get yours over the top, like you just get it how you
Yo
get
ho
it.
ho.
We grew up with Pirate Bay,
Ahoy matey.
Ahoy matey. But that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big deal. That's a big problem, and
but like you said, at the same time, it is the only game in town right now. Like again, we'll get to it, but it is an interesting dynamic for sure, and I hadn't thought of that. I very much think about contracts a lot less than you do. Like I think I only really think about those deeply when you bring them up and we talk about them, because otherwise
I feel
otherwise I'm just sort of along for the ride, happy and like looking at the players and like on field stuff. Like I think you pay attention to that a lot more, and I love getting that perspective and talking about it with you, because I mean, it's important too. But yeah, if left to my own devices, I don't think about it nearly as much.
I need to get this Dodger fanatic user on the show, because they definitely think about contracts a lot. And they're even talking about like the media rights deals, how the NBA just is in a better position than Major League Baseball ever will be, all this stuff. All the interesting stuff aside, the Padres have to freaking win. They have to freaking win, because in 2 years, already Profar is a free agent after this season. And Lord knows he played like it. Like he really priced himself out there.
That was out of nowhere. Like Profar was the number one over. This is like Gavin Lux turning into a superstar level player for a lot of the year, and becoming like taking a huge jump. Like maybe Profar staying worse than, like, not getting as good as he is now, and then in like 7 years suddenly becoming good, something like that. Like, he was a number one overall prospect, and he was disappointing. Like with the Rangers, he did not live up to that, and he sort of bounced around for years, and then here we are. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And on that note, who I hope makes the jump just like he did is Mickey Moniak.
Oh yeah,
I know he's been making a little noise with the Angels, but shout out to Mickey Moniak. Hope you turn it around.
Shout out to Moniak for getting to the majors, because that's already huge. Like, so many first rounders don't do that. But I would be even more surprised than Profar, because Profar at least was a lineup regular for most of those years.
That's right, and he wasn't very effective for most of that. He is 31 years old, about to see his first free agent contract. He has had an OPS plus above 100 in 11 years. He's had an OPS plus above 100 4 times. And this year, I want to say he started nuclear hot. Like, he started super hot. Like, was MVP
right
running.
Off the bat, too.
Yeah, right off the bat. And he cooled off pretty hard down, and he's down to like an 839 OPS. Like the OPS plus came within range,
Which is still
to like 134,
good, but
pretty darn great for this year.
Pretty darn good.
For this year,
but
an 839 will play major.
yeah.
And so he's in a contract year. He's kind of priced himself out. The bigger problem, and this post is basically, I'm just going to rip out this entire post. So Dylan Cease and Michael King are gone in 2 years. Like,
Okay.
and
That's
they
great
don't
news.
have anybody to backfill. Drew Darvish is going to be 39. Like, this is bad, guys. They have no prospects left. And I didn't know this, but apparently the Padres traded Trey Turner as a player to be named later
Yeah.
to get Will Myers. That's brutal.
Yeah. That's rough.
They listed like players that ended up leaving the Padres that they gave up prospects for. So they gave up Josh Naylor and Cal Quantrill and a host of other guys for Mike Clevenger, who is no longer with the team.
Nope. Barely. Yeah, was there for like what, a year?
A couple, like he played for maybe a year.
Yeah.
Mike Clevenger, Luis Patino, Francisco Mejia, who were all high-end prospects at the time for Blake Snell, who's also no longer with the team.
No longer with the team.
And, had one really good season, or one really good half season, I guess.
Was white hot there for a while, like crazy hot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It didn't do anything. It didn't matter. And it's just like, outside of Jackson Merrill and maybe the catcher that they have.
Higashioka?
No, not Higashioka. They got
prospect?
a catcher in the minors, yeah. The cupboard's pretty bare. Like, this is looking dark.
Oh, that catcher. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. He
Yeah.
made like a huge jump.
Yeah. The international prospect, I think was. Oh, let's look it up.
Ethan Salas.
Ethan Salas. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Salas.
made a huge jump in the rankings. I forgot about him for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be good.
So
And Merrill
this guy's
obviously
becoming
will be a problem for a while.
Yeah. But he's like one guy.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And so this team is kind of scary. Like, what can happen in 2 years when they run out of bullets? Because they've been just buying more bullets, like just pulling them off the shelf with their prospects and cash. And they're going to run out of cash, and they've already run out of prospects. Like, they're down to really, the cupboard is bare. So, like, and the problem is no one's going to take on these contracts. Like, who are you going to sell these guys to? Like a Machado at 33? Who's going to want that? When his contract is completely backloaded. It's like $39 million a year. So my point being, all of this, there's a lot of ire towards the Padres right now for Dodger fans, and which I completely understand. And they've kind of become America's team, which is kind of crazy. Like, because everybody hates us.
Bring it on.
Everyone hates us. That's the name of our podcast for a reason.
Yep.
Everyone hates us. And I'm not going to get into like the Doc, like the ball being thrown at Doc or whatever. It's just like, all right, yeah, whatever, guys.
Yeah,
It's like what do you? It's like Conor McGregor, like selling a fight. It's just like, all right, dude, don't worry, we'll tune in, okay? Like, you don't have to keep doing this. All of this to say, the Padres need this way more than we do, because the Dodgers, back in that era you were talking about, the beginning of that era, signed a $25 billion contract to basically ensure that we're going to be making money hand over fist, whether we're good, whether we're bad, whether we make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, whether we suck. And Guggenheim Baseball Management, to their immense credit, and the ownership team, has pushed all that money towards the middle of the table and be like, you know what? Like,
yeah.
Sucks to suck, guys. Like, we're okay.
We're, like you said earlier, they're going to be good as long as they want to be. Like they
want to be.
Yeah,
they just want to be. And what do you want to do? And that explains.
And
like,
they're smart about it. They're like incredibly smart about it.
My God,
which makes such
a
difference.
And Friedman is a huge. And that's the other thing I love about this Dodger fanatic user, is that their flair is Andrew Friedman. And I was like, kind of like kindred spirits.
One of us. One of us.
Friedman is, the engine, that keeps. You know how many players that he kept that actually ended up panning out? Like, we wouldn't trade Jock Peterson before, like, it was time. And I know he got some heat for that. But we also didn't trade Corey Seager. We didn't trade Cody Bellinger. We didn't trade Gavin
Oh, yeah.
Lux. Like,
all those guys were in rumors for so many seasons. Like, if we trade Corey Seager right now, we could get this guy, this guy, this guy. And we could, but he knew what Corey Seager was going to be.
yeah. And he was like, this dude's going to be a key part of a World Series run pretty soon. Like,
Yes.
he knew that. And it's like...
Yeah. He came in, and within a season or two, he was a core player of the team, an essential player of the team.
And this is when, like, we were still in that transition from, like, well, don't bring up the guys too early. You know, like, people would be like, oh, you need to stay down in the minors for, like, 6 years and really make your bones so that your first free agent contract is when you're 40. You know, like, that's kind of the stuff that they were doing. But then actually they ended up bringing this guy. They started bringing up guys earlier and earlier, kind of like we're part of that trend. And then he was a baller. Like, Corey Seager was balling for us.
Oh, yeah.
Huge part.
I will forever love the Sea Goat. He is right here.
He's one of the best ever. One of the best Dodgers ever. Justin Turner, like, bringing in reclamation projects and turning them into something. You know, like, Justin
That's
Turner
the
was
jersey
like,
I'm wearing.
yo, we need all that mojo tonight. I'm not joking. Yeah, JT, huge. This guy's one of the best position players in franchise history. Okay.
Yeah. No, yeah. He was so good for so long. He was a core part of that team.
Freaking
Core,
cast off from the
inner
Mets,
core.
bro.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
literally,
yeah.
the Mets were like, okay, get the money you can get. Like, I just remember there was another player who was getting hot in the playoffs, and everybody was like, oh, he's not for real. I think it was Daniel Murphy when he was with
With the Nets. With the Mets.
With the Mets.
That
and
was,
he went to the Nets, right? And he ended up doing it again. And I was like, oh, look at that flash in the pan. The flash in the pan lasted a whole 2 seasons. Look at that. It was like, oh, don't take the playoff performance to be any sort of indicator. But there's like a whole book about how Justin Turner was at the center of this kind of swing revolution, and it's just kind of like, bro, like, how do you know this stuff, Andrew? Like,
the Dodgers are really good, but there are 3 categories of player on the team, and they're all good. There's the big free agent signings like Shohei, great, and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. Like, we acquired them as stars, but we also have players like Corey Seager, like, who's not with the team anymore, but that kind of player that we brought up in the system. But we also have a significant number of that Justin Turner type, like Max Muncy right now, who is a core player of the team, who we just picked up as the A's gave him up for pretty much nothing. Like, we just grabbed him and we turned him into Max Muncy, like a perennially very useful player. And we have a lot of those too. We have multiple sources of great players because of that top-down quality of the organization.
Yeah, and so we will never have to worry about depth, like, going into future seasons. And you can look at Shohei's contract and be like, sure, whatever, maybe he'll pitch. Maybe he'll be a closer. Who knows? But, like, who cares? Like, you got money. Like, what, you want us to do this again? Like, we'll do it again.
Once we get Roki Sasaki next year, it'd be great. We can.
Oh, God, dude. If only, bro. If only. I heard there's another guy, the Sourmore Award winner from last year, is thinking about coming over.
Oh, wow.
And he has no posting fee because he's a vet. So
exciting.
That should be interesting.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name. Yeah.
But before we get, and we're going to get into ranking these fan bases soon, I just want kind of final word on Dodgers Padres. And we've spent a lot of time talking about this. And my point being, we're going to do this for a while. Mm-hmm. We're going to be in the playoffs for a while. Get used to us. You don't like us? That sucks, man. We're going to be on your TV every year for at least 3 more games than you need.
No.
And that's the game. Like, sorry. Like, we're just going to be in it. And it reminds me of the Spurs. Like, the San Antonio Spurs, they might not always be the number 1 seed, but they're always in the mix. All right? They've got great management, top to bottom.
Another very well-run team, yeah.
Very well-run team. And they know that it's about just giving yourself as many shots at winning the thing as possible. And they did that with David Robinson. They did it with Tim Duncan. The Dodgers are doing the same thing. Like, just be in the mix. Just be in the mix. Play good, like, find good value, like a Manu Ginobili or a Tony Parker, where, like, other teams are paying out the butt for a point guard, you know, and you have Tony Parker. You know, like, okay.
Drafted him 27th, I think, in the first round, and, like, end of the first round guy, and they just made him into a rock-solid base for that foundation year after year. And Manu, to say, like, was a 50-something pick. Like, they just built that team with already being good, and they made it sustainable, and yeah.
And at the heart of all this is the culture. It's the culture of the team. You know, like the Dodgers, I didn't say the Dodgers build an amazing culture, top to bottom. You know, it's a winning culture. And you know what? Like, the winning culture of today looks different from the winning culture of the 90s or even 2009 Yankees. You know, like, I know the Yankees like to think like they're a winning culture, and you know, to some extent that culture doesn't exist anymore. Like, the way that the Yankees did it just doesn't work anymore. You know, spamming free agency dollars and then, like, you know, oh yeah, we got Derek Jeter and Jorge Posada and Mariano. Like, it's not a basketball team, guys. You need to be 25 deep.
Yeah.
Okay. And in a lot of cases, 40 deep. And in more cases than that, 50, 55 deep, you know, going down to your farm. Like, you need to be deep top to bottom. And it's only going to give you a shot. It's only going to punch your ticket. Okay?
Yeah.
It can't win it for you. And
anything can happen in the playoffs.
Anything can happen. But the culture is what keeps this machine rolling. It keeps it well-oiled. And at the head of this culture is Doc Roberts. You know, and I don't know how to explain it. They're just excellent year in, year out because they keep it kind of level. You know, they keep it steady.
Steady as he goes. He's great for that.
And it drives Dodger fans freaking crazy. It drives them crazy because they're like, well, we should win every year. And I'm like, yo, this is not 1995. Okay, like, you cannot have crazy runs like this. You know, like, where you just win. It's not even the Giants run. Like, I don't think people realize just how lucky the even year BS. It's called even year BS. Like,
yeah.
It's not called even year we're good. It's called even year.
It was called BS for a reason. It was
World Series ring. You know, like.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just doesn't happen like that anymore, guys. And so expecting that is not reasonable. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot more about the fans. All right.
I just wanted to say one last thing, if that's all right. You made a good argument, but I'm a big proponent of antagonism in sports, like rooting against teams. I think it's important. No, I would hate to see a Padres championship. I am rooting hard against them every single round because of what they signify, and I mean that in the best way. Like, they are the opponent in front of us, and they have taken this role of villains to us, and like, that is a big part of sports culture for me. Like the rivalry with the Astros or the rivalry with the Cardinals, which we didn't talk about earlier. Like that sort of back and forth is a big part of sports for me, and like, yeah, if they win, whatever, on to next year. But I will be, I want them to fail.
I'm going to take it a step further. All right. And so I said all these nice things about the Padres.
Yeah.
You watched Dark Knight Rises, right? The Batman movie with Bane, Tom Hardy as Bane.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scene where Batman meets Bane for the first time.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I think the scene kind of opens with Batman going to Selena Kyle, the Catwoman, he's saying like, "Oh, you made a huge mistake," you know, and then Bane comes in with his hands on his like lapels,
yeah.
and it's like, "Not as serious as yours, I'm afraid."
Yeah.
The Padres have made a huge mistake. They've pissed off the Dodgers. Like, you don't want to piss this team off. Like,
definitely not.
They're a pretty mentally stable kind of. They're a chilling team. They could have died.
That's the thing. We have so many solid guys. Like Shohei is unfazed, and Mookie's unfazed, and Freeman's unfazed. Like, those are guys that'll shake this game off and be ready to play today Like it is that kind of team. And Shohei is that kind of player.
And those players will bash your pitching's freaking brains in. Like, I don't think you understand. You made a huge mistake.
Absolutely.
You guys want to play all passionate and with your heart on your sleeve. You fight like a younger man. Nothing held back. Admirable, but mistaken. Okay? Like, this is going to go really poorly. Like, I think we're going to
That scene
annihilate
ended
them.
with Bane breaking Batman's back.
Yeah, this ends with, like, you in a pit
Over his knee.
where you can't leave. All right? Like, and your vertebra sticking out of your back. All right?
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be pretty bad, guys. That's my take. That's what I actually think is going to happen. I think we're going to annihilate them the next 2 games and just come home and be like, all right, guess we're getting ready for the LCS. And sorry about the Padres, whatever happened there. Right? Like, it's, you don't want to piss these guys off. Like,
Yeah.
that's just my take. So I antagonize them in my own way, but I really want to demonstrate a degree of empathy that I understand what you guys are doing.
I know. I get it. I get it, and I'm like, I don't hate them as people. Like, yeah, I get it, and I appreciate them for it. Like, I love having a team to actively root against. Like, that's like I said. Like, I'm a big proponent of that. Like, I love that in sports, and I respect what they're doing. Like, and like they put in a lot of work to get here. But yeah, I will be rooting hard against them the rest of the way. Just like I was happily watching the wild card series with the Stros and Tigers and actively texting my Texas friends rooting against the Astros
So
and reveling
petty.
in yeah,
That's
absolutely.
so petty.
I had a lot of fun.
That's that's another one where, like, hey, that ride might be over.
Yeah. I mean, Bregman, very good chance he's gone.
Yeah, that whole thing's over. There's a good chance that thing's over for real. Because
Yeah, and I will enjoy that too.
but yeah, I mean, and to clarify, I go through all this empathic exercise to basically tell the Padres, it ain't gonna work, dude. It doesn't matter. Like, we're the Empire. Shohei's like Darth Vader. And this is a Star Wars movie where he kills Luke Skywalker in 10 minutes, cut, roll credits, the end. No more episodes.
Shohei is Darth Vader if he didn't fall into lava. Like, just full I'll keep blowing my mic out here. But yeah, he's like uninjured, full-powered Anakin Skywalker, just absolutely destroying everyone.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, guys.
You can do whatever you want on a baseball field.
That's fun. Oh, you're gonna walk me? That's cool. I don't know if you've heard this about me, but I stole 59 bases this year. Like, yeah. So it's just gonna be a rough day probably for the Padres. Rough couple of days. I think the Dodgers win tonight and then the day after. I know Dodger fans are like, no, you're jinxing us. Oh my God, how could you? Whatever.
Like we said, it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. Like they could beat us. We have had 1 or 2 pitching injuries this year. We are rolling out Walker Buehler, who has been huge for us in the playoffs in the past, but has not been at his best this year because of several injuries. And like anything can happen. But yeah, like we said, like the bats, like the guys on this team that are playing are more than enough to win, and I think will be enough to win because they are those kind of players.
Can't scare me no more. I lived through 2017.
Yes.
All right. With that, let's take a break, and we'll be back to talk about the fan bases in this postseason. All right.
Oh yeah.
All right. Grievance. The similar exercise, but let's just kind of go through the teams, and I'll yeah.
Sweet. Yeah.
Okay. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, Dan, it's that time. We've actually done this on the kind of warm-up episodes, but we're going to do a condensed version today. For some teams that are actually not in here. But we're going to tier rank the fan bases of the 2024 postseason MLB teams. All right, and I put together this snazzy little tier maker template, and so you saw the spreadsheet. I put together a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
which I can make available. I don't know how to make this available to the listener, but And I ranked the teams based on the following categories. All right, so we're only doing 2024 postseason teams, and this includes teams that have already been eliminated.
Full disclosure, I did not have time to put my stuff into the spreadsheet. I am very old-fashioned, so it's all written down here with pen and paper.
No problem.
But I will happily. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this.
No problem at all. So just real quick, and this is just for me. I don't know what you're gonna run it off of, but I just did a really quick and dirty. I ranked all the postseason teams by ball knowledge. So how well do you know ball? Online/social media presence, stadium experience, and I don't mean like, is the stadium nice? No, I mean like, hey, do you feel safe like going here as a fan of an opposing team? Do you like? Are the people nice to you, or are they kind of like, are they gonna razz you a little bit, or are they just like,
sure, yeah,
or stab you in the parking lot? And then online social media, or so we went with that stadium experience, bandwagon factor. How much of your fan base is probably a bandwagon right now? Okay, because that is its own kind of,
Yeah, I have numbers for that. That one I did like a comparison between attendance percentage, capacity percentage in their stadiums year over year. Like I have some.
That's interesting.
Observations. Yeah.
Can't wait to hear about that. Fan commitment was the next category. Entitlement, which is important. Okay, I think that's. I mean, it makes such a difference if the fan base. You remember when the Boston Red Sox were like this aw shucks team, and everybody's like, "Oh, they always lose to the Yankees, man. I hope they beat them." And then 2004 happened, and they just became like the worst human beings on the planet. Like that whole like region just became unbearable. I'm pretty sure it was like right around the same time that Brady won his first Super Bowl, the Tuck rule.
It was a sudden switch. All of a sudden, the Red Sox win a couple championships, and it was insufferable. Absolutely.
It was just unbelievable. Like, I never wanted to hear from a Boston sports fan ever again. But that's how things can change. It's like you win one World Series, and then you just expect to win them all, and you start talking like you expect to win them all. And for a little bit there, it looked like they were going to win a bunch of them. Fair play to them. Yeah. And they did.
They did.
But, so we ranked them based on entitlement. And the last one, intestinal fortitude. Okay? Like, how much does your fan base panic? All right? And for some of these teams, it's going to be like nothing. Because, you know what? We're not supposed to be here. So we're not panicking.
Absolutely.
Like, I can think of one team that's like that right now, the Detroit Tigers.
I was going to say, yeah. I think the last two are very correlated because, like, the Tigers have zero entitlement. Like, they were at 0.2% chance of making the playoffs, and they're here and they're balling out. But they had, it was basically a surprise. Like even from August, 2 months ago, that they made the playoffs. I mean, so they're happy to be here, quote unquote. But it is, but yeah, like when they lose, they're just still ready for the next game. They're like, bring it on. We'll bounce right back.
And the thing is, the Tigers, if they win it all this year, I don't think their fans are crazy enough to think, hey, we should win it again next year. They're probably going to be like, hey, we got, it's like that scene from Pulp Fiction where there's like holes behind them, like between Jules and John Travolta's character. Like, this was a miracle, and I need you to acknowledge it. Right? Like,
yeah.
So we were based on intestinal
Go walk the earth.
Mine was a very specific methodology where I basically just ranked all the teams on each of these categories, and then I added up all the points from the rankings. I ranked them 1 through 12 as far as how highly I regarded each of these categories for these teams. The team with the lowest score was the highest ranked, and the team with the highest score was the lowest ranked. And we're going to get right into it.
Yeah.
All right. So, Astros. Already with this. The Astros. Where I have them, the reason why I think they did pretty well in this ranking was I have their bandwagon factor at 1 because nobody in their right mind is going to bandwagon this team. All right, like you're either in the mud with them since 2017 or whenever, and I think 7 years is a pretty solid statute of limitations on a bandwagon accusation. 2017, you've
been around it long enough.
Riding with these idiots. or you're still, like, or you're off. So I have their bandwagon factor at 1, which probably helped their score a lot. Entitlement. I was surfing the Astro subreddit. I can't believe I used the word surfing. I was scrolling the Astro subreddit.
Surfing the World Wide Web.
Man, I just aged myself. So I was scrolling through the Astro subreddit, and after they got knocked out of the playoffs, there was no like, party's over, guys. There was no like, oh my god, we suck, like blah blah blah. It was just kind of like, guys, it was a long year with a lot of injuries. I don't know what we expected, but let's just hope the guys get healthy. That's it. That was like the vibe. I was just like, what?
Absolutely. That's the vibe I got too. But I mean, they made however many ALCSs in a row. Like they have had so much consistent playoff success for so many years that it makes sense. Like, yeah, they're just sort of like, whatever, we'll keep going.
Isn't that crazy? Like, that's like, for a team that's made the ALCS that many years in a row, have 2 World Series, I guess 1 if you don't count 2017, but I'll count it. 2 World Series in that time. They've gotten close and failed so many times, just like the Dodgers. And their fans are kind of like, and you know what? This run might be over, guys. No Correa.
Yeah.
Possibly Kyle Tucker on his way out. Sorry. Alex Bregman on his way out.
Bregman, yeah.
Yeah. Kyle Tucker's just been hurt all year. I know, because I'm his fantasy owner. And, it's just like, Yordan Alvarez is like definitely a bright spot, but like, again, he's kind of had struggles staying healthy as well.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? I don't know if we're going to be able to hold this together. Like, Ronel Blanco was like one of their best pitchers this year. And he was just like a revelation, but like, you really feel like the fort's getting a little thin. And so
they do have a similar ability to us in terms of turning pitchers, getting them to hit the next level. Like that I think will give them some staying power. But yeah, like, I think the golden age is definitely coming to a close here.
Yeah. I mean, Altuve's getting another year older. So I really wanted to commend their fan base for that and be like, for a fan base that should be extremely entitled, like, you guys are surprisingly, soberingly realistic about this. Yeah. And you guys took it on the chin. So props to that fan base. All right.
The psyche of the Astros fan is so interesting, especially because it's so like intertwined with just like the general Texas like standoffishness, like this is Texas, like it's essentially its own, like they almost view it as its own little country. Like it's very tied in with that. I think it's like, especially with the antagonism that Astros fans have experienced over the last however many years since the scandal broke, the 2017 scandal. Like it's like it's different from any other team. Like it is a unique experience to interact with Astros fans for sure, because yeah, like they have stayed fans of this team, which has been objectively great for a long time, but they also have, in doing that, have had to stick with these guys through a pretty major scandal, and every other team's fans talking shit to them for years.
And just so we're clear, the victims of this scandal were not like small market aw shucks teams. You guys victimized the Yankees and the Dodgers. Like,
right.
You basically brought, heaven and hell down on yourself. So, so where do we place them? Like, where'd you have them?
Well,
sorry to cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
For our listeners, we have our tiers lined up by like pitching, kind of like how we describe pitchers. So the top tier is ace. The second tier is frontline. Third tier is innings eater. Fourth tier is low leverage, and the final tier is just bush. So, sorry. So, where do you have the Astros ranked on this tier list?
I mean, I think so many of these things sort of cancel out for me. So I personally would have them in the low leverage tier, just because of that's around where I would have them. I think my personal feelings for the Astros would have them in the bottom, but at the same time, there is something to be said about sort of sticking through the team through all of this, and Yeah, I mean, it is a, yeah. I would say yeah. There's something to be said, but in my heart, they're always at the bottom.
Can I convince you to move them up a tier into the innings eater tier, which is like the C tier? And my reasoning being similar to yours, right? And yeah, I get it. Texas is like an oil price crash from being a third world country, okay? But
having just lived there in 3 years, I have strong feelings.
That's fair. That's fair. But can I interest you in an innings eater ranking? And for the reasons you mentioned. And it's because, like, they don't play. They don't. No, it wasn't a fan hitting the trash can. You know, they don't set up the video room for these guys. And they don't. How the heck are they supposed to know? It's like,
sure. But they have known for years. Like, they didn't know and they weren't a part of it. Absolutely. But, you know, the scandal came out and the information came out and time has continued. Like, they have, like, that is not, yeah, like, that has been integrated into the fan culture at this point, I think. And like, they've stuck through it, but at the same time, like, there is in some corners, a certain arrogance about it. Like, yes, so what? We still, like, we won the championship. I don't know. Like, there is, I don't know. For me, I'm already coming up from the bottom.
Okay. All right. I tried
and
my
also,
best.
having multiple Astros fans, I want them to come on and watch this and see their team below on the bottom half of the list. I feel like that's important.
Fair enough.
Again, for the sports antagonism that I was advocating for earlier in the show.
Go. All right. Well, next up we have the Atlanta Braves, who didn't really rate out too high in any of my factors. And Colin told me about them throwing stuff on the field over the infield fly. And so I kind of moved their stadium experience score down a notch. I think the Braves trolling game for the Dodgers is pretty on point. Calling it a Mickey Mouse trophy and they ended up winning it the next year is fair play. Like, you guys did pretty good. You know, that's a good troll. So I kind of have them as, you know, in the bottom third, but like still upper end of that as far as online social media. That's a good troll. But they just kind of like don't really do much for me. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, a lot of what you said. We also talked a lot when we did sort of the warm up version of this about the chop chant, which is definitely problematic. But yeah, I sort of had them squarely in the innings eater tier in my head. Like that like, yeah, that's another team that's had a lot of recent success and another team that when, I guess, in terms of teams that have already gone out, like, I sort of went very systematically and looked at the post-game threads for the elimination games for the teams that have gotten out, and then also just like the most recent loss for every team, because I feel like that's like really illuminating for sort of the psyche for the fan base. And yeah, like, they were it was one of the most relatively chill versions of that. Like, they knew they had a lot of injuries. They knew it's a well-run team with a lot of good players on very team-friendly contracts. Like, it was very, yeah, like it was a relatively angst-free elimination thread, which is, yeah, I think is an indication of a nice, healthy fan base, but not exceptional either. Like, yeah, I think right in the middle is good for me.
Well, man, and we'll get to this, but man, God, could you imagine if that sanity was applied to like the Dodgers? Like, all right, moving on to the Brewers. Okay, Brewers actually top 3 in my ranking. I saw a very interesting sign during Game 2 of the wild card series between them and the Mets, where they basically put up. Was it the Mets or who they playing? Fuck.
In this playoffs, the Mets.
Yeah, in the Mets. Yeah, between them and the Mets. And it was a guy holding up a sign. I have my kid is due today. You know, my baby's due today. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? Is it a is it a Brewers playoff win? And at the bottom he wrote, "P.S. Thanks, hon. You're a champ," or something like that. It was just very kind of like, if I'd done that to my wife, I wouldn't be talking to you right now, or at least I'd be doing it.
Yeah, I
2
remember
octaves
that.
higher.
Yeah, I remember that sign for sure.
Yeah. Because I would have had my nuts cut off. This fan single-handedly convinced me is like, something's in the water over there. I don't know how you can have this many early MLB playoff exits and still think you have like the right to expect to win. Like, I'll give them that. I've also read that their fans, a good chunk of them, are some drunk a-holes and like going to their stadium as a fan of an opposing division rival team could be potentially pretty rough for you. So
yeah, I did. I mean, that cuts both ways though. Like when I was trying to address from your spreadsheet, the question of the stadium experience, like from what I hear, the stadium is pretty average to below average, perhaps, but with good food. But what everyone kept talking about was the tailgating culture. Like apparently it has a huge tailgating culture, much more than most teams that I've seen, especially since most teams are just like barely like are in the city, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, I think it would lead to a more hostile environment for other fans. But yeah, I do like that culture is there. Like I think that is, I don't know, it brings a different vibe, and it brings a sort of like college football vibe almost, which is it's fun for sure. As we know,
as vibes go, that one's pretty high up there.
Yeah.
So I got them frontline. What do you think?
Frontline makes sense. Going through their elimination thread, there's definitely some angst there. There's definitely some, like they do not have the chill that the Braves and Astros fans have. Like they are pretty doomy in there right now, just because they've been in the playoff for so many years and haven't like. The nice thing for Astros fans and Braves fans is that they have recently won it. But the Brewers are sort of in the position that we were in before 2020. Like they've been in the playoffs several times and keep losing, and that sucks, as we know. But yeah, I would say like they've stuck through it, and they're there. They were top half in terms of the attendance. Like that's a good sign, and they've been consistent the last few years. And yeah, I would agree with frontline.
This team had Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff with like top 5 Cy Young finish, mind you.
Oh yeah,
career 3.1 ERA, mind you.
Corbin Burns,
hell of a player,
lights out with that for them. He was so good as well.
He was so good, and so to outplay, this is a division with the Cardinals. Like this is like this division freaking cares about baseball, right? Like
yeah.
This is not
Cardinals
a layman's
and
division,
Cubs.
all right? Okay,
And the other two are like two of the oldest teams, the Reds and the Pirates.
Yeah.
So much history, so much passion for sure.
And so this is like, NL Central baseball is not a joke.
No,
and for them
not
to
at all.
come out as division champs so consistently is awesome. That's something to be proud of, guys. This is not a joke, guys. Like, and mind you, it's not like the Cards are like, hey, we're in a rebuild. They went all in getting Goldschmidt, Arenado during this period. Like, this is like not a joke, guys. Like they freaking.
No, a very solid team, and I respect the hell out of them, what they've been doing, what they've been able to do. Like, and I hope they keep this level of success going, because they're a fun team, and yeah, I commiserate with the Brewers fans. I know what losing in the playoffs so many years in a row is like, and it is a unique feeling.
Yeah, so I'll cut them some slack.
Yeah,
so we have the Brewers in the front line. And then next we have the Detroit Tigers, which is
Motor City Kitties.
What are you even doing here? Who said you could come? There was a fun stat the other day. I think the New York Mets, or no, Josh Hader for the Stros, right? Like his contract this year, he's getting paid more than the entire Detroit Tigers playoff roster combined. And then it was good that they made sure to note that it was the playoff roster, because they're still paying Javi Baez on a 9-figure deal, and they got Kenta Maeda on the hook for like another 8 figures this year.
Yeah,
which is like insane.
And he was not great.
Neither of those players are on the playoff roster.
No.
Like,
To the benefit of the playoff roster. No, Kento would be useful somewhere in there. I would believe. But Baez, him being out helps them. Absolutely helps them.
Addition
Trey
by
Sweeney
subtraction.
has been. Yeah.
And he's getting paid 9 figures. Like, I gotta give the Tigers players some credit for able to overlook, like, hey, our highest paid player is like actively bad. Like, he's hurting us. Like, that's incredible. As far as the fans, I didn't really know what to make of their fans, but they did obviously rank high on the entitlement, intestinal fortitude, mostly because you live in Detroit. The fan commitment, whatever. Yeah, I had them pretty in the middle of the road here. So, I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean it's Detroit sports. Like if you're a fan of Detroit sports at this point, with how the Pistons have been for almost 20 years, and the Lions, despite their recent turnaround, like if you've gotten to this point, like I think you are. It's a sort of like if we want to talk about Bane, like adopting the darkness as opposed to being born in it. Like they have been through it, and so I think they know how to appreciate a good team. I think they know how to appreciate how special something like this is, and like like I said, like when the experience on their subreddit, when I sort of went through them all, it was definitely the most uniformly good. Like it just is, they sort of appreciate it because they've if you're still a Tigers fan now, like you've suffered through it, and you know, like they had their success in the early 2000s. Like it's not like the Lions who are good for the first time basically in 60 years, 70 years. But so like they had their success, and then they were bad, and yeah, I think they're appreciating it, and they have a good mindset about it, and the vibes are there. I'm excited to see what Comerica will be like tomorrow. Yeah.
And Detroit, I was gonna say like, oh, they're saving graces. That they were a hockey town for a while there. Yeah. And I just looked at their list of seasons. They are not a hockey town no mo.
Yeah, the Red Wings finally fell off. Yeah.
Woof.
But the Red Wings were like the Spurs of hockey there for many years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I remember reading about their general manager and just like, how did this happen? And it was super interesting reading. Okay, so you got the middle of the road innings eater.
I had them up. I would have them in front line. Like
okay,
I think the vibes are there for me.
All right, I'll give it to you. Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland sports fans, stand up. It's like, ever since LeBron won the title in 2016, you just don't feel bad for an entire city anymore. But then you only need to visit it once and realize, like, no, we should feel bad for the city. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right, so they didn't check out too high. I mean, their entitlement, they ranked fourth. Of course,
fourth most entitled.
No, fourth least entitled.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because you're Cleveland, like you don't feel entitled to nothing. I will say they're pretty toxic in the LeBron years.
Well, sure, but you got LeBron James on your team.
Yeah,
that'll bring that out.
Yeah, but other than that,
prime LeBron, like that's a
oh god,
yeah.
Remember pre-Heat LeBron, and then when he left, you want to talk about pissing off the freaking sports gods?
Oh yeah, that was
like
massive.
This gift fell into your lap, and you dare shake your fist
Comic
at God.
Sans letter by Gilbert.
We're not. I don't know too much about Cleveland Guardians fans. I do know their franchise is another one of those kind of long-suffering, but also plenty of reason to stay optimistic because management is so freaking good at their job. And
another team that knows how to just make pitchers really excel, for sure.
It's just a new name every year. It's like Corey Kluber. Well, he's good. Mike Clevenger. Man, that guy's really good. Tanner Bybee. That guy's pretty good.
Shout out Shane Bieber. Yeah.
Shane Bieber. Yeah, Biebs. Like, he's pretty good. Trevor Bauer. That guy's
he's
pretty
still on
good.
the team. He's just out all year, and they're still here.
They're still here. Zach Plesac was pretty good one year.
Yeah.
They got
Shout
like
out
all
J
kinds of
Ram.
names. Yeah, and then
We're huge fans of J Ram on this pod.
huge fans of J Ram on the pod. Big fella. Hossy 40 bases. Hossy 40 bases.
Just missed 40-42. Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it in the last pod. Definitely on one of them, maybe one of the warm up ones. But the Guards are my AL team usually. Like they are the team that I support in the AL, and I have a special love for them. I think in part because of Major League, which is right here. I don't know. Like it is a very historic team. A very like a lot of history. Obviously, a big drought. The longest drought currently active. Like they haven't won since '48. But when they won in '48, that was Larry Doby, and it was a historic team. It was the I don't know. For me, I would have them at innings eater just because it's solidified at this point. Like I think they're not a rabid fan base, but they're not entitled, but they're not like it's sort of just very it's very solid. Like I would have them in the middle personally. Like for me, they're like the averagest of the fans.
Yeah, and they have put together some teams. I think we've talked about this. Like
those 90 teams were insane.
God, like you know that team where you're like, I'm playing as that team when on the video game. You know, like that team. They were that team. Like
Manny and Tommy and
Kenny
Pascal
Lofton
and
Albert
Kenny
Bell
Lofton
in his prime. Like that was the crazy Albert Bell season. Even like Paul Sorrento, Carlos Baerga was still doing stuff. This team is crazy.
Sandy Alomar.
Yeah,
he was good.
Sandy Alomar was there. He wasn't really in his prime yet, or he wasn't really killing it that year, but
he was solid. Yeah,
he was solid.
But young Manny was something else. Like Manny was always fun, but that was a fun team for sure.
It's an incredible team. Bud Black,
Gritty Sizemore. Later on,
38-year-old Bud Black was on this team.
All these awesome Indians players, Guardians players are coming back to me now. Well, I mean, that was the team name for a century plus. Like that is, for better or worse, that is a part of their history. But yeah, so many fun players, like including Satchel Paige and Bob Feller and Grady Sizemore and even those recent teams like Sabathia, Cliff Lee. There's a consistently really cool players coming up with them for sure. Part of why they're my AL team usually.
This is a good choice for AL team. You know my AL team. They didn't make the playoffs this year. They didn't have an offense this year. I don't know how you have Julio Rodriguez. You just don't know how to hit the baseball. All right, here we go. So where are we putting them?
I would say innings eater.
Yeah, that's
personally.
a good like. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, moving on.
That's the 95 World Series matchup there in innings eater right now.
There it is. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the last one that Detroit won, right? Is it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh no! I'm saying the Atlanta and Cleveland.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, that's right. That's the one that they won.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh God. Oh my gosh. This is definitely the somebody has to win it World Series. Like. Oh my God.
I mean, so much talent in that World Series. I've definitely watched some of those games. In 2020, I watched a lot of World Series games just like in the background, like while I worked. I just put on like 1995 Game 5 or whatever and just watch these iconic players duke it out.
Oh, like that totally happens to me. I'll fall asleep watching YouTube and then I'll wake up and it'll be like 1995 World Series, and I was like, this team is freaking stacked. Like I'll like kind of like bleary eyed look at my phone and I'm like, 95
what year
World
is
Series.
it?
Okay, who won? Who's playing? Oh, what the hell is this team? Like, oh my gosh, this team is stacked.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty funny. All right, next up we got another small market team.
Mm-hmm.
The Kansas City Royals. All right. I'll tell you where they ranked low was fan commitment. And here's why. That's a football town. Like
absolutely.
That is a no. Yeah.
I was just there and like they were fighting for a playoff spot and literally everyone's just talking about the Chiefs because it's
Yeah.
season. It was like week 3, week 4, and like versus a team fighting for the playoffs. Doesn't matter. It's all Chiefs first and foremost,
But the baseball
and second
fans,
and third.
yeah, I know. It's like, yeah. Oh, what was the scene from Concussion with Alec Baldwin? It's like, football number 2 or football number 2, like, church number 1 or Jesus number 1. It's like, football number 1, baseball number 2, and then he's like holding on with 5 fingers. It's just like, I know it's not. I know it's a football town. So, they only have a football food basically as their city's like claim to fame. But otherwise, I'm told that they're quite knowledgeable. I looked at their sub; they are indeed quite knowledgeable.
Yeah.
The few baseball fans they do have over there, they rank really high in bandwagon factor because nobody's going on the Bobby Witt Jr. bandwagon. Sorry. So that's where I'm at with it. They're actually ranked pretty high for me. So where do you have them?
Yeah, I have them pretty high. Like if you are a Royals fan, like that is credit to you. Like they had those years when everything came together, and that was an awesome team. Like that was a fun team that made it to 2 straight World Series and won one, and full of fun players, and then immediately you went back to the misery that was the 90s and 2000s for the Royals, and if you made it through all of that like Salvador Perez did, that's great. Like, and I am so happy for you. And Bobby Witt, especially, you got Bobby Witt on your team. That is a fun, and you got him locked down, 11-year contract. That is an exciting time for sure. And yeah, props to Royals fans. But yeah, at the same time, they were at like 43% capacity last year. Like it was bleak until last year. Like there was 100-something lost team. So yeah, it is. I mean, it's similar to the Tigers' place, because they've been bad for a while and they're back. But that is like attendance dipped and interest dipped for sure. But at the same time, those people that stayed are awesome fans for sure.
Definitely give them the props for sticking around. And Salvi Perez, like the Udonis Haslem of the Kansas City Royals. If UD played like,
it's still good.
Yeah, if UD played like 35 minutes at like age 40, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was still an essential part of the team.
The next one might surprise you, buddy. We've got the New York Mets, the Metropolitans, and boy, they rode a smoker in this one. I've got a lot of respect for Mets fans, and here's why. That team is freaking cursed. Okay, like,
oh yeah,
that team is cursed. Like, there's
Lowell
snake bitten.
Mets is real.
There's snake bitten, and there's like somebody is chanting incantations 24 hours a day. Okay, like, and it has multiple voodoo dolls, just like with a bunch of pins in them, and then like a high K rate for some reason. Like, it's just that team is cursed, and so just to see like the fan base rally around the Mets, and like for them to not be disappointed for once, it kind of feels good to see it. And I hate the Mets. I hate the Mets as an organization, as a team.
Yeah.
As a staff,
You're the biggest
label,
Mets
and
hater
as a
I know.
motherfucking crew. But like, I just got to give them credit. Like, the fans are the best part about that team. Like, they just are. And Mets fans are the best. Like, I have them number 2 behind our number 1 team. So
yeah, I looked at their, like, they just lost game 2, similar to us, and I was in their thread, and apart from complaining about Edwin Diaz, like, it was positive. Like, they're just here for it, and it is. Yeah, I mean, it was a great atmosphere. It was like, we're on to game 3. Like, bring it on. And I mean, look at that. Yeah, they're winning in the bottom of the 8th. They're that's a fighting team, and like, yeah, if you're a Mets fan, you've earned it. Like, that's, yeah, like you said, it is cursed. Like, Lowell Mets is real.
What did they like? What do they? If I'm let's say I'm the baseball gods, right? Mm-hmm. I smile on the Mets every year, but I just forget because I have to go to the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
And in that time, they find a way to melt down. Okay, like that's not my fault. Like if I'm baseball god and I'm like, oh, love the Mets, such a feel good story, and then they just like, it's like, oh, hold on real quick, I'm gonna go make a sandwich. I'll be right back. Don't do anything dumb, Mets. And then you leave and you're just like, oh my god, what happened? Like it's just the room's on fire, and all of a sudden like, oh my gosh. So the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what I was talking about with the Braves. Like being a Mets fan in New York, like with the Yankees right there, like that is such a, like that is a choice. That's
right.
Yeah,
and that's the thing I love about it. And
Yeah.
I know some of these other fan bases don't have a choice, but you have a choice as a Mets fan.
And you can be a Yankees fan. Like that is the easiest thing in the world.
No
like
one's going to fault you. No one's going to fault you except for other Mets fans, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you live in Queens and you're like, oh, put on a navy blue hat here. It's like, like
But
get the hell out of here. But you could,
that is a choice, and that is a
claim
major choice.
huge choice. It's like the choice between good and evil. Okay?
Yeah.
And you chose good. All right? Like, props to the Mets fans. Yeah, they're top tier for me. Like, easy.
I agree with that.
All right? Okay. And this next one, it's important to me. Okay? Top tier. When it comes to ball knowledge, low key. I remember when Orioles fans were pissed at the Chris Davis contract before it even happened. They were like, this is going to happen, and it makes me very upset. And I'm just like, what? Like, I remember Orioles fans telling me, like, Chris Davis is going to get a huge contract, and I'm so mad because he doesn't deserve it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This guy had like 50 home runs. And they're like, no. Like, you don't understand. We don't give away big money. And here's what's going to happen. We're going to give away big money and then never give it away again because Chris Davis is going to ruin it for us. And I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, why are you like this? And silly young me didn't realize they knew all along this guy is actually on the absolute smokiest of smokers. Like, he's on an absolute smoker right now. Like, and he's turning it into money. This is very bad.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Davis, what a figure in our in our baseball fanhood lives.
Oh my god!
But when he was good, like that was such a clean swing. Like when he would hit it, and it would not look like he would hit it, and he got all of it, and it would just fly. But it would just look the same. It was yeah. When he was good, he was great. But he fell off hard for sure, as we know. But yeah, I also love. I have a soft spot for the Orioles as well, and I mean I have Eddie Murray right here in a special edition beer can, and yeah, I'm happy where this is going for the Orioles ranking.
I'm going to give, and just for heads up, so I had them number one in ball knowledge because of that extremely clairvoyant experience with that fan. I was like, how the hell did you? And then I remember like messaging them like after Chris Davis had gone for like on a historic slump, and I was just like, how did you know? Like, how did you know? And they're just, I just knew. Like, I'm like, what the? So extremely knowledgeable fans. Apparently, this is actually a sentiment shared among Orioles fans. That contract has a huge potential to be a disaster. I'll give their stadium experience. Camden Yards is on my bucket list of stadiums.
Oh, I love Camden Yards. Yeah.
So I had them at number
so
one.
Good. Great food. I had some like a whole fried crab sandwich. It was amazing.
Don't do
And
this to me right
my
now.
mom still talks about that sandwich.
I live in LA, dude. Don't do this to me right now. I have their bandwagon factor pretty high because they are a likable young team.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to eventually get on this. But I think I have them ranked really high for bandwagon factor because a lot of these fans are diehards. They've been around since the Ripken days. They're not just messing around. So, the fan commitment, I'll give them I had them ranked first. One of the most committed fan bases. And, the Ravens, as much as people want to say that's a football town, the Ravens didn't really come to town for a while. And it was a Baltimore Colts before that, right? So, football's had a kind of spotty relationship with Baltimore. And so
the Orioles are important.
The Orioles are freaking important.
Yeah. Literally, I mean, I think for me, being also a film nerd, it's encapsulated by the shout out Orioles fans get in 12 Angry Men, like from 1954, with Henry Fonda.
Really?
Like,
Wait, when?
like, they talk about. They talk like one of the guys is an Orioles fan, and one of the jurors, and one of the other guys is a Yankees fan, and he's like, he talks about like why, similar to what we were talking about, like that's a choice. Like you're supporting a team that is like supporting that team is means something, and
Nice.
and like no, mad respect for Orioles fans and the Orioles, yeah.
So they're
And
my
like,
number one.
I'm
team.
excited for them because they, new ownership like that. Yeah, I could be excited for them.
They deserve it. They
Yeah.
deserve it.
Yeah.
Okay, and like, yeah, incredible team, incredible
Yeah.
fan base.
Oh yeah, put them in the top tier.
Yeah.
And you'd love to see it.
All right. Let's do the Phillies first.
Yeah, fair.
All right, and here we go. You might notice that our push tier is a little bare. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
So the Phillies. God, what can we say about Philadelphia sports fans? And as an Eagles fan, so that was a choice I made.
Yep.
Right? I'm an LA football fan. We didn't have a team for a while. That was a choice I
Yeah,
made.
I'm a Packers fan for sure.
Yeah.
Like I know.
Oh,
I have to
God.
explain it all the time to people that aren't from LA. Like all my friends are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unique LA experience.
I had them ranked close to the bottom in stadium experience for obvious reasons.
Yeah, if you're visiting.
If you're
But
visiting.
if you're part of it, like that's
If you wear a
Probably the
Mets
best stadium.
jersey to the Philly, like, oh, yeah. Just, yeah. Okay.
But if talk about college football atmosphere, like if you're a Phillies fan, like that's gonna be so fun. Like when that stadium's going, like that's
That's the thing. It's like, it has to be freaking crazy.
yeah,
And, like, isn't that what sports is all about?
absolutely.
At the same time, this is a fan base that is famous for booing their own players. Even
Yeah.
recently, sarcastically cheering for Castellanos when he took a pitch in the dirt. You know, like,
Yeah.
and they're just kind of like looking at him. And then he ends up being the game hero. You know, like,
Yeah.
this is, it's like, I know Philly's famous for this, but I kind of did a 180. I know we did this exercise before, and I gave the Phillies a huge bump for it.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at it, I'm just like, you get one little thing, and that's the standing up for Trey Turner when he was in a slump. But that's kind of a hostage situation because you guys gave him $300 million. So you kind of have to do that, all right? Like, that was the first season of the contract, and he was slumping coming in. Yeah, you kind of have to do that, okay? Like, because you guys are in it for the long haul with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll
Fair
give
enough.
him that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a little tick. And then the rest is just like Alec Boehm. I effing hate this place. You know, like, I feel you, Alec. Like, I understand. Okay? Like, that's not a fun place to suck at. Okay? Like, and you know what? They're not going to put up with sucking. And it's just like, but they birthed the toxic fan. Like, nobody does toxic fan.
Oh, they are the I mean, yeah, like no other fan base. Well, fan city has the myth of, well, not the legend of booing Santa Claus. Like that is a uniquely Philadelphia thing. Like that is
that is why I became an Eagles fan. That's my real reason. I'd tell people another reason that I'm not going to put on the show, but like that's the real reason. They threw batteries at Santa Claus. Okay,
which I'm all for again. And yeah, like that's
he's made up. He's not real. Sorry, kids. I'm just kidding. He's real. I'm just kidding. He's real.
sorry, Santa.
I'm just kidding, Dave. He's real. All right, so the Phillies, I had them pretty low, but where do you got them? We might have to negotiate here.
Yeah, I think this is a big negotiation for us because I have them pretty high. I love that passion. I like both in the positive and the negative. Like it's so over the top. Like it's sort of like where where the like doomer negativity of other fan bases sort of grates, like with Philadelphia, it's so they wear everything on their sleeve so much that it's like part of it too. Like I remember for one Philadelphia, like one of the Eagles Super Bowls, I think the one where with the Foles, the Nick Foles run, like the one they won. I remember a tweet going like before the Super Bowl, like yeah, riot if we win, riot if we lose. Like, like the big emotions are there either way. And yeah, I just respect that passion so much. I love it. Like it's like a European soccer team. But like Dinamo Zagreb or Fenerbahce or like one of these small like a Turkish or Serbian team where just the fan experience is just heightened. And like to me that means so much. Like I love them.
I'm inching towards your side. I hate the toxicity because I've been experiencing it, but I think I'm conflating Philly toxicity with one of these other teams' toxicity. Okay, and it's not the same.
Yeah,
because they birthed it, and it is part of their character. It is part of their charm. It's the whole city. Like even Sixers fans are like this. Okay, like,
yeah, it's across the board for sure.
And Joel Embiid loves it. He knows.
Speaking of toxicity, the Mets just went final. They won Game 3. Just an update.
Congratulations to the Mets.
Yeah.
The 1 game away from the NLCS, which is insane to think about.
Yep.
So you've convinced me, and as an Eagles fan, of course, I joined because of the toxicity.
Yeah.
But also the passion, because I'm a red-blooded guy, you know, and my blood runs hot, and I love that passion just like you do. And how can I take it away from their baseball team? I just think because baseball's such a cool sport, you know, like it's kind of like you got to stay rational, calm, like collected. It's like where composure matters so much. Whereas like in football, you can just let it fly, you know, like.
Yeah.
Their most famous player for a while was Brian Dawkins. Like this guy suplexed somebody on a field.
Yeah.
Okay, like
Yeah.
Like that's what I think of when I think of football is Brian Dawkins laying a hit on Algie Crumpler, and Algie Crumpler like, I'm fine, gets up and then just like immediately gets back down on his knees like, I'm not fine. I'm actually not fine.
Yeah. Brian Dawkins was badass for sure.
So, all right, we'll give him the frontline tier treatment. How about that?
All right. Personally, I would have him in ace, but I agree with that. I'm fine with that.
I just feel like a homer for my own football team if I put them in ace, but like,
I mean,
yeah,
I think they earned it. I think
we're gonna foul this bottom here, anyway,
which is crazy that like the top 2 spots are in a series. Like 2 of the teams in the top spot for us are in a series against each other, and they're so overshadowed by the Dodgers series. It's
best
wild.
fans. Yeah, I had them pretty low actually in my ranking, but thinking about it a little bit harder, and the ball knowledge is high. Like they actually know their ball. There's no excuse.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, okay, here we go. This is the part that everybody, if you listen this far, you earned all the whatever's coming. San Diego Padres. Here's why I had them ranked high. Stadium experience. Because
beautiful stadium.
It's a beautiful stadium, and the fans are not really that. They're not as bad as they are online. That's my compliment to them. You're not as bad as you are online. Yeah, I think the Dodgers,
that's a fair compliment.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers kind of similarly, you know, but
and they in my like little study on capacity percentage, they are tops right now. Like they are the only team that's like basically at 100%. Like they're at 99%.
Well, like their city has a choice, okay? Like
of course. Like we covered it. It's the only show in town, but that does mean something. Like it's a stadium that's basically at 99% the whole season through. Like that's in baseball, that's impressive. Like that's 81 home games.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I'll give them that. All right.
Yeah,
but you know, ain't much to do down there. All right. So,
despite that, all that aside,
I had their. I ranked them particularly low in entitlement, which I think that's an objective take on the Padres fans. Like their sense of like, we deserve to be here and we deserve to win is like, guys, you guys know you've only made the playoffs 3 times in the last like 20 years, right? Like, you know, this is like not a thing. Like, just be happy. Like you can't even make playoffs in consecutive years. All right, like stop acting like you freaking own this place. All right, like you don't. No, stop that. if you're kind of like, oh shucks, we're happy to be here, this is awesome, like, hey, we have some really great players, and we're pushing our chips in, and management cares, and we're grateful, and we're gonna be happy. I'd be cool with that. But this can the whole like trying to be the Dodgers act. Like, you guys are not the Dodgers. Like, please, you guys have made the playoffs like again 3 times since we had I think since like Monica Lewinsky like scandal. I'm not even kidding, dude. Like, it is not a thing for you guys to be in the playoffs. So please stop acting entitled. All right, like.
No, it's toxic for sure online.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
it's so bad. But I will give them their credit for like social media and like their campaigning. For a while, like if you looked in the Instagram comments of MLB posts, about any other rookie, whether it was Jackson Chourio or Paul Skeens, they'd be like, yeah, but he's not as good as Jackson Merrill. They were like botnet. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I have to give them props. Like, they really stuck for their guys. And let's be honest, Paul Skeens doesn't win Rookie of the Year. Like, I need to return to my home universe. Okay, like, I need to return to my home timeline. All right, like, there is no planet, there is no alternate timeline in which Jackson Merrill wins Rookie of the Year over Paul Skeens.
Jackson Merrill was great.
He was
especially
awesome.
as young as he is. Like he's been great, and he's going to be a problem for a long time. He was awesome.
No one's saying nothing. I
Skeens
picked him up in fantasy. Okay, I was perfectly happy with that. It was a good choice.
I was mad at myself for dropping him.
Yeah,
and that was me. You're welcome,
sir.
But yeah, Skeens,
freaking Skeens, right? Yeah,
was the best pitcher in baseball for a while
it's like,
as a rookie.
No, seriously, like, hey, your life's on the line. You pick one pitcher who can pitch for you today. It's like, Paul, start warming up right now.
Yeah,
like, if you don't strike them out, I die. Like, start warming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll give the Padres fans credit because they will go on these crazy botnet-like information campaigns.
Sure.
As far as the whole, like, oh, shucks, woe is us, like, look at what the Dodgers did to us in Game 2 of the NLDS. Like, look at these fans. Like, shut the hell up, dude. You guys, oh, my God.
It all boils down to what you sent me the other day. Like, it feels very much like a little brother thing. Like, it's very much like this angst over this big figure in the division, which is us, which we won however many times and however many years, and like so much of their fanhood seems geared around the Dodgers. Like,
yeah, that's why I always like joking. It's like, oh, you guys won your World Series today. Like, look at that. It's May.
Yeah.
But fair play to the Padres. And this last thing I'll say, dunking on the city of San Diego. And it's not even really dunking on them.
Mm-hmm.
Your football team left you to be with us, and we don't even want them. Like, we're just like, oh, shit, that's right. The Chargers play here.
Who's an LA Chargers fan?
Yeah,
I don't know any.
Your friend who doesn't know football was like, hey, what are you doing on Sunday? I don't know, just chilling at home, I guess, and watch Red Zone. Want to go to a football game? I got football tickets. Oh, yeah? Yeah, I didn't know the Rams were playing this weekend. No, it's the Chargers. Like,
oh,
bro, you need to return those. Like, get your money back. Man, you really don't know anything about football. But it's a football game. No, it's not the same thing, dude. Just return it. Okay? Like, just take my word for it. Just try to get your money back. Like, that's how we feel about the Chargers. And you know what? All that nice stuff I said about them being a pillar of the San Diego community still holds true. They just decided to pack their bags and come here where nobody cares. So I totally get the antipathy towards us. I get it. I get it. I'm with you. Your fans still suck, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, they suck.
Yeah.
So.
And it comes from the players. And once again, I will reiterate.
I mean,
when you're embracing a team that's built around guys with the personalities of Tatis and Machado as the central pillars, like, those guys are such assholes.
Just kill me now.
Pardon the curse, but like that comes from on the field. Like, that's the persona that the team has taken on, and the fans sort of rally around that, and it shows in the online discourse. Like, it went from such a chill fan base to this, which I get where it comes from, and I get it, but it's like, they're still
Tony Gwynn, one of the classiest freaking baseball players ever.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn.
Yeah. Tony Gwynn.
To this. Yeah. We have our first Bush.
There we go.
All right.
Well earned.
And these last two are no doubters also. The New York Yankees.
Yankees are, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are very cool Yankee fans.
I'm laughing because they lost to the Kansas City Royals yesterday, and my first thought, I looked forward to going to the Yankees subreddit, to read about that. I was like, oh, I gotta see this. Oh, Judge. Oh, he had a bad game. Oh, I want to see this. It is like must-see TV in subreddit form. I was like, I have to see this. What did they say? My thing about the Yankees is that, the John Boy guys, literally made me want to do this podcast. Because they are, first of all, they're very funny and they're awesome. And I think they do great breakdowns. But they're slowly turning into like a Yankees soft power kind of like operation. And it's like, they're like kind of Weasley about how they're pro Yankees. They have the Talking Yanks podcast, which is fine. But they don't really confine it to that. It's like, it's everywhere throughout. And they're just kind of like,
I mean, it's similar to the Bill Simmons thing, which we were talking about last week, like with the Red Sox and Boston sports. Like, it sort of bleeds in.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So yeah, I think that when I saw that, I was like, I could be in the spirit of Vince Scully. Like, we could be objective while also being Dodger fans. It's possible, and I'll try it. Because like this is kind of, it's starting to give me the ick. I don't know. But what can I say about Yankees fans that hasn't been said? Like,
yeah, it's by necessity bottom tier. Like it is. like there was no easier rank for me in this. Like but that's part of it. Like I think that's part of what you embrace becoming a Yankees fan. Like you are. Like that's the empire, as you put the Dodgers before, but like has been the empire for almost 100 years. Like that's what you're rooting for.
I'm saying that the Dodgers, being a Dodger fan, is more redeemable because
absolutely,
we had periods where we really sucked. We had some hard years, especially right now. Like if you're a kid, if you're a millennial, like our age, dude. We sucked, man. In the 90s, like, man, that was a rough period to be a baseball fan. I don't know what it's like to cry over a baseball game because I'm used to losing. I like, I'll go there and like, you know what? All right. Guess we're putting in whoever to, blow this lead open. Okay, going home. Like, and that was part of being a Dodger fan.
And like bad in such a like mediocre more than bad.
Yeah,
it's just like aggressively mediocre for so many years.
If we were like the Orioles 2 years ago, I'm not saying nothing. Like I'm like, okay, we were just horrendous. But at least there's the Lakers. No, it was like, they're good enough to where like you kind of want to go to the game, and then you're like, oh no, no.
Kind of a bummer for.
It's just a letdown.
For a long time. Yeah.
And as a Korean, Chan-ho Park was like a major reason why I went to the park. Okay, like, and he balled out for us. Like I'll give him that. He didn't ball out in Texas when he. Oh my God. He really didn't ball out in Texas, but he balled out for us. And I was like, this is really cool to see. But we as a team kind of suck. I was just like, damn, where's the offense, guys? Like,
I mean, my favorite, my first favorite Dodger was Cesar Esturris, who just really encapsulated those teams. Like, very solid player, but nothing special. Like, he was just really good on defense and occasionally had big hits, but it was just, uninspiring. Like,
that's a good word, uninspiring.
Yeah.
Like we sucked. Like we weren't trash, but we kind of sucked. For a long time. So like that's why I'm like, if you're a Dodger fan and you're kind of like our age and you've been a Dodger fan since you were a kid, respect. Okay, like especially because the Angels won it all in 2002.
Yep.
That was a hard time for us, man. Dude, you know what it's like to get trash talked by Angels fans? It's like, yo, is your owner Mickey Mouse? Like, I don't know. Who owns your team? Like, is your best player Tim Salmon? Like,
thank goodness social media didn't exist back then. That would have been rough.
Oh my God, that would have been unbearable.
Yeah.
So there's some hard. The Yankees do not have that. I'm sorry.
No.
They
Bottom
just don't
tier,
have that.
Just period. Like, if you're a Yankees fan, like, you get to root for the Yankees. They will spend a lot of money and they will be the Yankees, for better or worse, especially in the last 15 years. But yeah, you will happily accept your bottom tier and you will like it.
I had their stadium experience pretty high, but for, the fact that the staff apparently are really responsive, so the ushers and stuff like that, and they've got a good number of them throughout the aisles to make sure things stay civil, which I respect. Like, I think they do try to create a classy, kind of world-class baseball experience, and
yeah,
I like that.
I've only been to one game there, but it was Yankees Red Sox. It was fine. It's anecdotal, but I do remember it being a bit of a mess getting in, more than other stadiums. But yeah, it was very solid.
And we also had them bring fan commitment. I think once you're in it, you're in it, and for better or for worse. And it's not like they've been an easy team to root for these past 10 years.
For sure.
Yeah. So
15. Yeah.
15. Yeah. 15. So
yeah,
but unfortunately,
got to be bottom.
You got to be and especially this year, y'all are Bush. Okay, holy hell! You spent the whole season wanking Aaron Judge, on social media, on podcasts, talking about how much better he is than Shohei, belly aching about this or that, and then the moment this guy puts up a bad game in the playoffs, all of a sudden he's Benedict Arnold.
Oh yeah. I mean, Aaron Judge was historically great this year, but and yeah, he struggled in the playoffs, but you got to stand by your guy. That's your guy.
Your fans are Bush. Sorry, Yankees. Not sorry. All right. And finally, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed for me.
Yeah, I get it. I think having left LA and, had to passionately defend both the city and the team abroad, so to speak, in so many different places as I've been since, I guess I left in 2019. So it's been 5 years of this. I think in my personal ranking, I can't have them at the bottom just as no, actually, there's plenty of great Dodger fans and large parts of the culture are great. But I do know that the toxicity can be overwhelming sometimes, especially before 2020. That was the toxicity around Dodger discourse for so long was such a bummer. I loved the team and I would love to follow the team, but I did not want to see what people are talking about the team online just because it was just depressing. And I hated that feeling. And I think it's gotten a bit better since 2020, having actually won. Some of that's gotten a little bit better, but it's still not great.
This is not a negotiation.
I get it. I get it. I just want to say officially on the official Daniel list.
Yeah,
they're not at the bottom.
Where'd you have them actually?
I mean, it's impossible to be objective. I guess realistically I would put them second from bottom just because the negative parts are I would put them in the Astros tier. But if I'm being honest with myself, I would put them top half just because I do love when it's good. I love the casual Dodger fan culture. I love how universal it is in LA and it's part of, I guess it ties into how much I love the city. I think it really encapsulates just how well the city can come together on certain things and when I think I like to focus on the positive aspect and I would have them frontline personally, but realistically with the negative trying to be objective, I would put them on low leverage, but I went into this expecting what you're having them in the bottom tier, but I just wanted to say these things because to me I have experienced some of the animosity towards the city and towards the team that has helped name the podcast what it is, and I stand for the good parts of the Dodger fanhood, and you know me, I'm always wearing Dodger stuff. I will represent.
You are not afraid to let people know.
Yeah,
especially considering how much of your time you spent outside of LA, and since even since college actually, right? So, which was 2014. But
No.
And yeah, I guess I have to explain why. The Dodgers in this survey and ranking that I did were far and away the last place team. They are the fans. And I want to preface this by saying, if you go to the stadium, the fans are great.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
most sections, fans are awesome.
Only stadium I've been to that sings "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" twice. Like that is
Yes.
a unique to Dodger Stadium experience.
Yes, and they'll sing it. That's the other thing. They'll sing it.
Yeah.
And
No, it's passionate, and yeah, I love going to Dodger Stadium. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
yeah, it's same.
Yeah.
The fans, and don't let I want to make this very clear. This is not about John P. dipshit who went down the fucking. And I'm gonna cuss because you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna cuss because that dipshit who went down the stairs and threw stuff onto the field, threw a beer can at Profar.
Oh yeah.
Yo, you don't speak for us, okay? You don't speak for us. I don't care how stupid it is. The only thing I want people throwing on the field is a home run ball.
Yeah.
All right. Like
Yeah.
that's the only thing you can throw on the field.
That's the part of European soccer culture, that I don't want. Like we don't want that part.
We don't want that.
The booze, like hearing those boos raining down on Tatis, perfect. I love that. But
Awesome.
don't throw stuff.
Don't throw stuff on the field. You
Yeah.
freaking idiot. Like that. You don't speak for us. So
Yeah.
I think the fans at the stadium are awesome. If you're a Dodger fan, even more awesome. If you're a fan of the opposing team, you'd be surprised. They actually treat you pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
we might razz you a little bit, but even then, like it's LA razzing. Like how bad could it be? It's like 72
it's
degrees
chill.
outside. We're not pissed. Like sure, we're whatever. Man, I literally told a Rockies fan, like, pretty brave of you to wear that out here. I didn't know you guys existed, but it's good to see you guys outside of Colorado. It's just like that's my way of like kind of razzing you, but like welcome to Dodger Stadium, and if you need help finding anything, I can probably help you out.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel. That's how I feel towards opposing fans. It's like, hey, welcome here. And not because like, oh, we have a bad reputation because somebody got stabbed in a parking lot. Unfortunately, I did put the stadium experience at 12 because of that, and like
Sure.
that's just being objective. Like you don't want like that kind of violence and stuff happening, and
Of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's hard.
But yeah, like we've both been to the stadium so many times, and it is
Safest.
consistently a super chill experience.
super chill, and that's because
Yeah.
LA people in general are chill. Like that's how we are. That's how we're built. It's just like, oh, dude, welcome, man. Like, let me know if you want to eat anything. So yeah,
Yeah.
the frickin' subreddit. If the Dodgers subreddit, oh my god, I don't think it's possible to be more toxic than that place. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it's dooming without the charm. It's doomers without the aw shucks charm. Because we literally won it 4 years ago, guys.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that you don't count that. Okay, sure. Okay. You don't count it? That's fine. We've been in the playoffs. We haven't missed the playoffs since like freaking
2013.
Yeah.
We've been every year since 2013.
literally since Obama was president. You know how long ago that is? Like, yo,
It's over a decade now.
over a decade we haven't missed the playoffs. Guys,
And it's been fun. There's so many great players.
how often can you go to a ballpark and say, I expect my team will win?
Yeah.
And then we're not playing the Rockies, okay?
No,
If we're playing a good team, we'll be like, yo, we expect to win. It would be dope if we would win.
In the time since this run has started, like we've had sort of mini rivalries against the Waino Yadier Molina Cardinals, against those Chris Bryant Cubs, against these Phillies, the Braves, the Padres,
The Ruben Tejada Mets, like
yeah, like teams. So many teams have come and gone, and we're just consistently here.
we're like an institution.
Yeah,
And you have the nerve to like doom us about the playoffs, say Mookie's struggling. You know what the most like it wasn't even something bad last night that I saw on the app. It was like a kind of just like a God, this too? Like I feel sick.
Yeah.
All right. Mookie's birthday was yesterday, October 7th, which shout out to Mookie. Happy birthday.
happy birthday, Mookie.
Best MLB podcast. Because he gets to interview the players. But Mookie took 300 swings in the batting cage. on his birthday. Do you guys know what 300 swings feels like? Like, my hands are raw after like 80 swings. Okay? This guy probably has like calluses and blisters. Like, his hands probably look like diseased. Okay? He ran himself ragged in the batting cage because people are talking trash about how he's in a playoff slump. This guy is a Jurickson Profar glove slap away from a home run that game. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, by the way, if you're in the freaking outfield and Jurickson Profar's trying to steal your home run ball, you freaking get that ball away from him. Okay, like that. You want to be a fan? Do that. All right, you want to be a hardcore fan? Get what is rightfully yours. There is no interference once he's past the field of play. That thing is like an invisible barrier. It's like a he's out of the field of play. That's your ball. Go get your ball. Like, what are you doing? Oh my
Yankee
gosh!
fans get that ball, as we saw in the '90s. That's a
yeah.
Although that was reaching over, but still, like, yeah, that's fair play.
Get the damn ball. That's our home run, man.
Yeah.
Get your damn home run ball.
Get that Mookie home run ball.
Hell yeah.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Oh my lord. I was like, oh my god, if I was sitting there, I would have boxed out Profar. I wouldn't even look at the ball. I would just box out Profar. I'd be like, that's not your ball, man. That's our ball.
It's on this side, it's our ball. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not interference because you are now in my seating area. Like, you're in my area. Get out of my area, dude. Nobody wants you here. All right. Yeah, you want to help the team. Slap his freaking glove away. What the hell? All right. So just the fans are toxic. The fans are so toxic.
Sure.
And they were criticizing Mookie for taking ABs on his freaking birthday.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, this sub
You get to
is
have
like
Mookie
disgusting.
Betts on your team. That is you realize how lucky you have to be to have a guy like Mookie Betts on your baseball team.
And he's not even your best player.
He's not even your best player.
He's a top 5 player in freaking baseball. He's not even your best player.
He has he been great in the playoffs recently? No. But so what? Like,
Who gives a
again, the playoffs, anything can happen.
I just don't understand.
It's silly. It is profoundly silly.
Honestly, my top 5 goes like this. Shohei Judge, Soto Betts. Okay, like, Shohei Judge, Soto Betts. That's it.
That's fair.
That's my top 4. Sorry, guys. Like, and
He's
what
that
the
kind of
hell?
player. He's that level of player.
He is that level of player. And not just on offense.
Oh,
Put him
yeah.
around the freaking field.
I literally have a sticker of Mookie's catch in the 2020 playoffs on my laptop. Like, I can't show it because we're filming on the laptop, but yeah, no. I mean,
beautiful.
he's a stud in every aspect of baseball. He's great at.
I love him so much. And like the thought of him on his birthday.
Yeah.
On an
I
off
heard
day.
that story. I'm like, hell yeah, Mookie. Like, yeah, you love to hear it.
300 swings. Crazy. That's you know what? That's the type of ish that makes you a legend in our city. That's the type of stuff that, like, you know, you heard Kobe was putting up shots, you know, after the game. That kind of stuff.
Exactly.
That's the kind of stuff that makes you a legend in our city. And these freaking toxic ass Dodger fans have the nerve to come after Mookie about that. They're just like, well, man, he must be really, like, he seems broken to me. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Have you been a Mookie Betts of anything in your life, bro? Like, I bet if I go to your freaking, like, you know, your job and criticize you for, like, working too hard, you would really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You seem broken, bro. Why are you working past 7? You know, like, have you ever been good at anything in your life to say that about Mookie Betts? Like, it just bugs me. And this fan base just... Fuck this fan base, dude. Like, there's... No. And I'm cussing because, like, they're terrible.
I mean, I get it. Like I said, I in the mid 2010s, I literally muted Dodgers, Kershaw, like so many words on Twitter when I was still on Twitter because I was over it. Like, it was like I don't want to listen to this stuff. Yeah.
The anti-Kershaw rhetoric.
And I don't care. It wasn't other teams. Like by all means, talk shit if you're another. But like from Dodger fans, that was the worst. Like, I get it, but I think 2020 fixed that for me. I think I just hear those people and I'm just like, whatever. Like, I'm happy with the team. This is great.
I can't. I think it's because you're one of the few people I can talk to about being a Dodger fan. And yeah, you're one of the few positive people I talk to. And like, but when I see like Dodger talk, like kind of couched in like really negative terms like that, where it's like
It's
actively destroying the team, like
to be a Dodgers fan, especially having been a Dodgers fan for, multiple decades, like it's so like we're so blessed. Like this, it's so nice to be a fan of this team. Like people who can't just sit down and enjoy it despite, not winning every year. Like, yeah, like it is profoundly toxic.
I will also never forgive them for the Kershaw hate. I will never forgive them for the Kershaw hate ever. Literally one of the best left-handers of all time.
Oh yeah.
Like we're talking GOAT level accomplishments, GOAT level career resume.
If I had that Kershaw jersey you gave me like 10 years ago in Chicago, that would be on the wall here.
Yeah.
As much as I love Ricky Anderson, but yeah, Kershaw, absolutely.
The Kershaw slander every year. Would you rather have Clayton Kershaw or Kurt Schilling? Idiots. Fucking morons.
Silly. No, I mean, and that was another big part of why 2020 was so great. Like seeing him win and seeing him get to be happy on the field celebrating. Like that's another sticker on my laptop is literally Clayton Kershaw holding up the trophy. Like that's how much that meant to me.
One of the happiest things. The happiest I've been for a person I don't personally know.
Yeah.
Probably the happiest I've been for a person I don't personally know. And yeah, so our fans unfortunately make it harder on our players with the way they talk about them. And that's why they're the worst. Because like,
yeah, I came in here with the hope of pitching you to arguing you to get it to low leverage, but I get it. And I'm fine with this ranking. Like I think there are enough profoundly toxic Dodger fans, which is another thing. Like, as a very successful team in a very big city for as long as they have, like there are a lot of Dodger fans. And because of that, like even though like perhaps what our opinion of the percentage of toxic Dodger fans versus non-toxic Dodger fans is, the numbers themselves are so massive that it doesn't matter. Like there's just so many toxic voices out there that it is, like it's inescapable.
They ruined the subreddit. That's all. Honestly, that's all I'm going to put on it. And because like I'm with you. I bet you they're dropping the bucket. They're dropping the bucket relative to how many actual Dodger fans who are just like, hey guys, can't win them every year. Still renewing. Like okay. Like,
but yeah, no, I mean you're right about the subreddit, and like I think I go on there from time to time, but I definitely do not spend like most of my time is on our baseball. Like I'm not on our Dodgers because yeah, that toxicity is there, and I think that residual aversion to that comes from back when I was on Twitter and like back like despite like it not affecting me as much, like I think it's just like why go interact with those people that are just not appreciating the team that we have and how lucky we have it.
Single pitch reactionary crap. Like literally off of a single pitch they will react. Like they're the
profoundly reactionary.
So dumb. Well, this is our ranking, and so we've had the Baltimore Orioles. So just to recap, we've got the Baltimore Orioles number 1, we've got the Mets number 2, the Phillies number 3, the Kansas City Royals kick off next year at number 4, and they're kind of tied with the Detroit Tigers, I'd say.
Yeah.
Milwaukee Brewers are kind of like a push, they're kind of reach, but they're still in this second tier.
I could see them, being in the middle tier. It's around there. Yeah.
And then in that middle tier, the innings eaters, we've got the Atlanta Braves coming in at 7th, Cleveland Guardians at 8th. Nothing down on either of those fan bases, but like
very solid,
kind of middle of the road.
Yeah.
Low leverage. Number 9, we've got the Houston Astros. Number 10 to kick off the Bush League tier, and the bottom tier we've got the San Diego Padres. Number 11 we've got the New York Yankees, and in last place, our team. Our team's fan base. I got them number 12. I wouldn't hear it when it came to bringing them up.
Of course.
It's because they need to do better supporting the team online. This is insane. Our guys can't.
Yeah.
I just pray that our guys don't have phones. Like I pray that they don't open up social media. Like, because good God, the worst. Anyway, much like being a Dodger fan, talking to you, Dan, is always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks so much for having us on your podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Give us 5 stars. Give us a review. Tell us that you love us, even though you hate that it put the Dodgers fans last. And yeah,
tell us what you think. Tell us where we went wrong.
Yeah, tell us what you think. Honestly, tell us where we went wrong. You can follow us on Instagram at Everyone Hates Us. I can't believe I actually nailed that. I actually got that Instagram handle, but it's at Everyone Hates Us.
Yeah.
And you can DM us all kinds of nasty stuff. Okay?
Please.
Yeah, please. Except for nasty photos that we don't want.
Yeah.
But everything else is fair game. And finally, just want to say thank you again to Dan for joining me on the show for 2 hours. He's been a trooper through this all. He put up a really wonderful backdrop. If you get a chance to watch this on YouTube, check out our YouTube channel, and just search for Everyone Hates Us, Euno and Dan, and it should pop up.
Yeah, and we're trying to make this as beautiful visually as well as we can. We have the chart up there. We got a lot going on the video feed as well.
Just watch us. Just watch us in the background. Yeah, and hopefully the Dodgers win, but we'll see how the rest of this playoffs plays out, and we'll see you next week.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.